But it's super helpful. The Jeff Cundy book is probably something to check out. I'll send Justin a link and he
Awesome.
can
Thanks.
send it to you guys.
Yeah, that's super.
Yeah.
And we're not perfect at this yet. Like our volunteers haven't done this, but it's like, we're trying to continue with excellence, right? We're trying to get better and better every single year in our own skill and just finding easier ways, to just quickly memorize a song. So, what's the goal? To connect with God and connect with others and each other. Like even your bandmates, And
Absolutely.
if you can, get your eyes off of your chord chart and to where you can, I can look at Justin, we can smile, have a moment of worship together, but we're all after the same thing. And if you don't have to think about all that, what chords am I playing? What do I do here? What part do I play? It just frees you up, because what's the goal too?
Right.
Worship. We want to worship.
Yeah.
If we're not worshiping, it's hard to invite other people to worship. So.
I understand the basics of Nashville, but have not gotten, and I don't have it figured out blindly yet by a stretch. But I want to make sure that I understand. So you're saying that for memorizing songs is where that's really the best, right? Because it's the main progression is 1 4 5 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
So then you're not, if I'm memorizing King of My Heart, I'm memorizing the song, not King of My Heart in G.
Absolutely.
So you learn the song once, and then when I sing it one key and Rena sings it in a different one.
Absolutely.
You've now learned the song, and you can transpose it without having to
Well, yeah,
song.
and the
Exactly.
skill set you have to grow for that is being able to transpose it
In your head, yeah.
So that's where
But
it's
if you
like,
have a
it's so
capo-
simple,
It's not
right?
transposing.
If you have a capo, you're just
Simple.
moving it up one or down, or one or two. So
Just
it's,
you have to know all the.
or if you have a piano with the transpose button, you can do it.
Oh man.
That's what I do.
Piano.
I play everything in C on the
Oh
piano.
man.
That's crazy.
But so again with the numbers, if you're a church that vamps a lot in worship, and you're like, where the heck is Justin going right now? So, and somebody realizes it, they just be like, hey. And that's it. You got the song lyric, just by hand signs, And I've played at Assemblies of God Church that they just go nuts,
You're
make
like,
up
what are
songs
you
on the
playing?
fly, and that's just how we do it. And we got it. We're jamming away that quickly. Nobody had to learn anything. They just kind of understood what that meant. So, yeah. Yeah.
I got a question. So we talked about space, the concept of leaving space and stuff. But what could you say, or what could you offer regarding just dynamics and dynamic contrast, and specifically, building a song, if level one is mezzo forte, for example,
Sure.
and then level 2 might be forte, and level 3 might be this is really
Absolutely.
big.
Yeah.
What specific advice would you have for either worship leaders or people playing acoustic electric, people playing drums like myself?
Yeah. Awesome. That's a great question. So pretty much every worship song right now that's happening is a huge crescendo. It's just on the intro we're starting with just piano, and the band dynamic is at 10%. And then by the end of the song we're going nuts, and we are at 99% going crazy. And so I think of it as percentages, and as a worship leader, when I'm talking to a band, I say, on this first chorus, we're going to be about 30% velocity, or and so oftentimes, a lot of times a bridge starts out down, and then it builds up. And so it starts at 10%, builds up to 80%, and then that last chorus is 90%. So as a drummer, you have to leave some in the tank for that last chorus. And a lot of these things come down to the drummer actually going shung 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 boom. And But yeah, I talk about it in percentages. I don't
Okay.
I don't say mezzo forte or yeah.
I used to study music years ago.
Yeah.
When I first went to college, I studied music education and percussion performance.
That's
I'm
awesome.
an English major now, but yeah, so I have a little bit of a classical background.
Yeah.
So that's what,
But that's very helpful for all instrumentalists when you're thinking about a worship song. Is like we're not going to start the song at 100%. Acoustic players are notoriously awful at this.
yeah.
They're just like shing, 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 shing.
Just really into it.
I mean, they're into it, and oh man, her dad is a
Oh, man, my
old time
dad's
worship
notorious for this.
vineyard dude.
Well, because he plays without click,
Gosh.
and so he's used to
He's got better.
staring. He has.
He plays a click now.
Yeah, but man. Anyway, that's it.
He hits that acoustic as hard as he can
Yeah.
every time.
Man, so good though. So good.
So can you talk about how you guys have helped grow like to that? Because I'm totally guilty of that. Like of just crushing. Like
Yeah.
I'm like that's been doing this for 20 some years and used to just like banging, and so that's been a really active topic of conversation.
Sure.
So you talked about how kind of spacing out. So if I'm gonna play on acoustic, I'm gonna play like whole notes, and Kathy's on electric, she's gonna play quarter notes or something. Can you just talk a little bit about how you guys have worked towards that really as a team, and just acknowledging that that's something that it's been an active conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want, so say we're on a verse, and I want to strum out the chords, and I want Kathy to arpeggiate eighth notes, so that the subdivisions are being filled up, but it's not her going shung 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 shung. She's going dee doo 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 doo. She's arpeggiating chords. So how you do this is. You may have a train wreck, or it may not sound right. You're like, hey, hold on, guys. Can we just sit and jam on this verse for a while? And can you try arpeggiating it? And I'm just gonna do this, and we're gonna see what that feels like. And so you build up the trust with your players by doing that, but you also you work out each individual section of the songs, and it also comes down to listening to not just yourself and your in-ears. So yeah, does that kind of help?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's just something that we're getting better at, but it's been a long, slow curve.
And so yeah, it's like the easiest one with acoustic is I'm gonna play whole notes, and I'm gonna trust the piano or electric guitar player to arpeggiate the rest of the chord, or vice versa. They're gonna hit a whole note, and I'm gonna arpeggiate the chord. So that's one option, and that's like probably the most common. So yeah, definitely try that out.
So would you say it really comes down to listening to each other? And like, I love that this is such a community of you're open to feedback, like you guys talked about. So, and I don't know how you would feel about this, Justin, but like if you hear something, you're like, man, something just doesn't sound right. Like, is that pretty open space for him to be like, hey, Justin, can we try this? Or like, I'm hearing this. I didn't know how that
You'd have to
dynamic
ask,
was.
you'd have
Yeah.
to ask everybody else how they feel about
Yeah.
that. But I appreciate it when people
Yeah.
bring up things, hey, I think that something isn't matching up correctly
Right.
here, we gotta figure out what's going on. I think
Yeah,
that's
I will say
super
that
helpful.
I can only speak
Yeah.
for Team Orange, but I feel like we've come a long ways in that in the last year of just really being a lot better about, okay, you try go up here, partly with like where you're playing on the back, or like how busy rhythmically. We're getting better. I feel like this is just like my particular like pain point right now. Like
Yeah.
I know I need to get better, not better.
Yeah,
That's great.
and
Yeah,
another
that's
way to pinpoint it is, can you play for me what you're playing on that verse? Just you? Because like oftentimes when we're in the full band, we're like, well, that verse didn't seem right. Let's just all play it, and then we all play it, and we can't
It's still not better.
we can't distinguish
Mhm.
what's going wrong.
Yeah.
But when you solo out each instrument, and then
Which is very vulnerable, but it's like if we're all trying to get better, sometimes we just have to do
but
that.
honestly, when you're in that vulnerable situation and you mess up, man, I have literally failed so many times at this. But when you're in the situation where you're the one that's messing it up, you kind of get like, oh man, I wasn't prepared. I'm gonna be very prepared next time, and it kind of puts a motivation in somebody to better prepare and not just get by. It's so easy to get by and rely on the guy to just strum away on the acoustic and carry it. But we're here as a band. We could all do this. We could all be a part of it and help make it great. So
That's great.
any more questions?
This really isn't a question, more of a comment. We're using OnSong,
Mm-hmm.
and I find that when we're practicing and we're making suggestions, I don't have time. I mean, I gotta hit the edit button and then, get a little sticky note up.
Absolutely.
I don't have time to do that, and, I've thought about bringing a tablet, but then I don't know where it matches up, so now I'm back to, maybe I wanna just have written chord charts and then make all my notes, and then bring it home and then rewrite everything in OnSong, so I've got it, cause
Absolutely.
my memory isn't like it used to be, so I forget things, and.
Professionals write it down. It's okay.
It's actually true. Yeah. Who told you? Did your
My
grandpa
grandfather taught me
tell?
that.
Yeah, your grandpa told that.
Cause I can't remember, like I'll play this song totally different, from Saturday to Sunday.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm supposed to be doing arpeggios, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm hitting chords.
Right. I
So-
generally remember by the second service, like,
Exactly.
So I always
We
have
only
a
have
notebook.
2 in the new building.
Oh,
but
no.
First service is
That's
gonna
right.
be the big one. We don't have a cushion.
Get it
There's no
together,
cushion.
guys. We got a new building. We gotta. No, so I bring a notebook, and I have a page for each song, and I'll write down. Oh, verse 1, I'm supposed to arpeggiate. So when you are on iPads, it gets a little hairy.
It is.
But if you have a notebook at rehearsal, you guys rehearse Saturday and then you play Sunday morning.
Right now, anyway.
So yeah, if you can make a note in your notebook and then take your iPad home or something, that's definitely an option. Or well yeah,
I
That's
do
what
think
I'm
it's, I think we actually hit on something that's gonna be worth us actually thinking about, just putting this in our minds when we're talking about going to 2 services from 3. Right now, if you look at, the way that the people are dispersed, we've got a very small first service, and everyone who comes to that, they probably love Jesus enough that it does not matter how much we mess it up, right? And so what we're actually moving into is, our first service could be as big as our second, and so we've gone from less than a third, probably a sixth at our church on a Sunday, maybe having a clunker consistently, to maybe 50% of the church. So I'm saying that out loud, just so that we can be thinking about it. I feel the fear come over myself. As I say it. But
it's
this
motivation. It's not fear.
is, right, but it's true, I mean, if we're, we don't want to go in there and then all of a sudden have a larger percent of the church have a crummier experience of us leading them in worship, right?
Yeah.
Right. Totally.
Yeah, and so going back to like being the farmer, you want to produce the absolute best crops that you can to give to your people and to help feed them. So preparing is so important, especially when you only have 2 shots at it.
Yeah.
I have a question. How long are your practice times?
Yeah.
And practice like whatever, Thursday night, whatever, Saturday morning, whatever you do. And then like pre-service practice / sound check,
Sure.
whatever you want to call it.
So currently, so I've been a part of this church since we were probably around 300 people, and we had in our old auditorium we probably did 2, 5. Somehow I ended up playing 6 or 7 services a weekend. It was nuts. But now we do 1 service on Saturday and 2 services on Sunday morning at our main campus.
Well, 3 technically, the third is a different.
Our team only does
Oh.
3. And so Saturday we show up. We don't have a midweek rehearsal because we do play Saturday night anyway. So we show up at 2 o'clock. And something I say is, we're gonna start downbeats at 2.